3, 4.
We just live right now, man. It's going down, excited for the season. You know, we coming off a playoff win. I mean, you know, we had a couple wins.
Hello and welcome to episode 224 of Dear Diaries, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast presented to you by us, the staff here at Brew Hoop. I'm Kyle Carr. I am back after a internet fiasco situation. It was my internet. It just was down. Don't know why. Hated it. But thankfully I'm back and I am joined by one of our usual co-hosts, Jack. How's it going down there?
Good down here in Australia, Kyle. Yeah, solid. Sorry, not a solid week from the Bucks, but good to end on a win at the very least, even if the team they won against was not a real NBA team or even maybe a G League team. But good to get the win.
You know what? As I say, a win's a win. And also joining us in Madison. So he is actually not that far from me, probably like a 15-minute drive at this point. We have Van. How's it going?
I'm doing okay. Like we were talking about before we went on the air, the snowstorm that happened here, and happened. I'm not necessarily sure what they got in Milwaukee, but I know in like the Chicago and the Madison areas, it was a good 10 to 12 inches, which, you know, for late November, even, you know, like the 29th of November, it's just not cool. And yeah, I had to just do a lot of snow blowing and shoveling today for my parents, who can't really do it right now. So I've warmed up since then, but it's going to be a restful night's sleep because of that, you know?
Yeah, having a corner lot for a house, it's all fun and games until you have to clear the snow. And then I absolutely despise it. But that's okay.
Kind of why I don't want a house, you know? Just like someone else can deal with it.
Yeah.
I'll pay someone else.
See, that's why I'm hoping when the kids get older, then I send them out. And that is the hope in 10-ish years.
Condo time. Yeah.
Condo time. Not even condo time. That is, hey, you want an allowance?
I see.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
No, in 10 years, that's
where you put them to work.
Yeah. But we also hope that everyone in the United States and Canada had a wonderful Thanksgiving on Thursday. But the Bucks, as Jack mentioned, did not have a wonderful week. It started on Monday where it was just kind of a mess against the Portland Trailblazers. They lose 103 to 115. Dame gets a tribute video in his return to Milwaukee. He was with the team, obviously did not play, but it was good to see, you know, him reconnect with some of the players on the Bucks. The game itself, the less I talk about it, the better. And then we get to Wednesday where they play the Miami Heat and NBA Cup action. They hung around. I would say they hung around for most of the game, had issues on the offensive side, both in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, and came up just short, losing 103 to 106. The Bucks did try and get a look at the end. Not a terrible look, but just didn't fall. Gary Trent Jr. obviously was key in that. He almost got the game-tying shot. But then the Bucks crashed out and exited the NBA Cup with a 109 to 118 loss against the New York Knicks. Giannis Antetokounmpo did return, so that was encouraging. He was his usual good self. They just didn't have enough, and some help from the referees, but neither here nor there. But it was one of those where they just couldn't string together enough at the end of the game to get the win and advance. So now they are out of the NBA Cup. This is the first time in 3 years now that the Bucks have not gone to Las Vegas. That's a bummer, but also it's good and bad. Obviously, you want to play for a trophy, but also they do get extra rest and they get a cupcake schedule now because of it. And speaking of cupcakes, they played the Brooklyn Nets, and Giannis obviously was back. Kevin Porter Jr. makes his return after his multiple injuries, and we even got to witness a poster from Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Yes, you heard that correctly. Thanasis Antetokounmpo posterized a Brooklyn Net, and the Bucks were able to cruise on to victory, the 116-99 win. I would say the score is still flattering the Nets. So overall, it was a rough week, but then ended on a positive. I guess, Jack, what was kind of like the main thing that stood out to you, what you learned this week?
Honestly, honestly, it's not really the main thing. It's just something I sort of became interested in because in the game against New York, they shot 13 fewer shots than the Knicks. And I think if that was evened up a bit, they would have probably been able to pull out that game. I think it was 71-84 on the shot attempts in that game. And I got interested in this because they were last season 23rd in opponent field goal attempts. So they lost the possession battle a lot last season, but actually they are actually 8th this season. And they actually shot 10 more shots than the Heat and 7 more shots than the Blazers in the other games this week. I didn't check the shots from the Brooklyn game because I didn't consider that a real game. But
it doesn't
matter. So I thought that was surprising that they actually are not losing the possession battle anywhere near as much as you would maybe assume that they would have. But that said, I still think there's some low-hanging fruit to pick up in certain areas. What we can talk. I kind of want to go deep on the rebounding, but they're 28th in opponent free throw attempts and 22nd in personal fouls on the season. So they just foul too much and they give up shots at the line. And what's propping them up is they're actually 3rd in effective field goal percentage in the whole league. So they, again, shooting the ball really well. But yeah, they rank 30th in offensive rebound percentage, as we all kind of know, which has been a trend over recent seasons, and 17th in defensive rebounding percentage. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on why are they such a bad offensive rebounding team? And can they get better? And then, I don't know, any thoughts on the defensive rebounding, either side of that, really?
They don't do it. That's kind
of
it.
I was going to say rebounding is optional. I feel like half the time with the Bucks, and
offensive
that's why
rebounding just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it's not even optional. It's like we just aren't going to do it.
Yeah,
I think that go ahead, Kyle.
But it's interesting that the shots in terms of how they've had more shots, because part of me is like, they allow a lot of offensive rebounds, and they're not necessarily like a strong offensive rebounding team themselves. So it's like shocking in that way, but that also might have something to do. I wonder if like the pace, like the Bucks pace compared to these other teams might have more of an impact on it, because the Bucks are more of that. I don't want to say run and gun, but it's like they know the shots are going to get. It shows in their effective field goal percentage. Like they're putting up more threes. They're able to get more shots up quickly, create more of those possessions. So maybe that has something to do with it. And there's also that small aspect of, well, if you're allowing the other team to if you're allowing the other team to get a lot of free throws, that takes away those shots as well. So that could be a factor in it as well. That I'm thinking like those are possibly like the two things.
When you say, Jack, when you said like our take on the offensive rebounding, do you mean like what I said? What the Bucks don't do it is that they themselves do not crash the offensive glass, and that's
like how can they improve? Like if there's any room to improve, sort of areas.
You mean do you mean improve their offensive rebounding themselves, or improve their defensive rebounding?
I mean, yeah, both, but like sort of, I don't know, like I wrote, I have some notes on improving their own offensive rebounding and also their own defensive rebounding. Yeah.
I think as far as their own offensive rebounding, it's interesting because like under Bud, they weren't a great offensive rebounding team for the first, I would say, I think it was 2 years. It was really the title year where Bud decided to like crash the glass a little bit more, I want to say. And in the title run, like in that playoff run in 2021, they actually were quite a good offensive rebounding team. And what it all came down to with rebounding with the Bucks was Brook Lopez, not his individual rebounding as we know, but just how he boxed out, how he was able to, I guess for lack of a better term, direct rebounds to mainly Giannis, but also guys like Bobby Portis and maybe and Chris Milton. He had some really good rebounding numbers in those years too. But the Bucks were, I believe, 29th in defensive rebound rate in their last season before Bud, like the kid Prunty year. And then they skyrocket up to first or second with Lopez. And it was I think it had a lot to do with the scheme, right? Like they were on defense, they were dropping Brook into the paint, and they were not switching. They were going over every screen, and that allowed two things to happen. One, like it put a bigger body near the rim who could box out, but it also had guards crashing the boards a little bit because they were picking up guys. They were picking up the ball handlers after they went over the screen, so their momentum was going towards the basket. We just don't see that anymore. And I think with one of the things I've noticed all year is I just don't think they're using Miles Turner the way that would be the most effective, which would be to use him like Brook Lopez. I know we've talked about this when we've been off air, but it's just they're switching everything this year. And the switches that they're working into are very disadvantageous to them because they're kind of a small team. They're giving up a lot of size. And I just think this defense would look way better if they were dropping Miles Turner into the paint a little bit. Like he can have him, do the Brook Lopez thing where he's got in his plane of vision, he's got the roller and the screener, or I'm sorry, the ball handler and the screener. And then he's backpedaling. He can, commit to one and alter the shot as need be. But at the very least, like then that will, whatever happens with the shot, there's going to be people there who can collect the rebound on defense. I think it would just solve two things that are an issue with the Bucks: the defensive rebounding, as we've said, but also I think the rim protection just hasn't been good enough either. I mean, these numbers are not very Bucksian. I would say they're 10th in the league, 10th highest in a percentage of opponent field goals coming within the restricted area. So that's a number that we were used to seeing in the Bud years and the Lopez years, very close to the bottom. So opponents are taking more shots of the restricted area, and even worse, 6th in the league in opponent field goal percentage within the restricted area. Surprisingly, they're tied for 5th with San Antonio. It's kind of surprising that San Antonio's up there too, but opponents are shooting 73.7% of the restricted area right now for the Bucks. And this, I think if you go back to what worked with Brook Lopez, because we talked about for so long how this is like, oh yeah, he's the younger version of Brook Lopez. Well, then use him like that. And I think it'll solve two pretty significant problems.
I do think part of it is personnel related, because I was thinking like when you were mentioning like how the first couple of years they weren't like a great offensive rebounding team in the Bud years, and then that title year, it's like you had Drew Holiday and you had Bobby Portis, and I think like having those two who go and get those rebounds made a difference. And I think, and I noticed this, and I don't know how much of this is this change or how much of it is the Nets are just terrible, but the return of Kevin Porter Jr. and like his effort on crashing for those offensive rebounds. So I think in that aspect, I think there is something to it where he will go and at the very least try and get the offensive rebound. Like there's a couple possessions where him just going in and just getting a hand on it, and maybe it doesn't result in the Bucks getting the offensive rebound, but it at least threw off Brooklyn, where it's not like they can get the rebound and then immediately go into transition. Again, how much of that is Kevin Porter Jr.'s return and willingness to do more of that crashing plus a bigger body, and how much of that is the Nets are bad, I don't know. I think we'll get more of an answer on that these upcoming weeks. But I think that a part of it, and also more Jericho Sims minutes these last few games, has also seemed to have more of a positive effect on the rebounding as well, both offensive and defensively. So I think those two things I think would help. Just having more of that person on. You now have Giannis back. You have Kevin Porter Jr. back. It seems Jericho Sims is getting more time in that rotation. You're not having, and this is kind of going into my point, like the rotations that are there and the guys that have been playing more seem to be more equipped for trying for those rebounds, or at the very least doing a better job at the defensive side of those rebounds. So I'm curious to see what it looks like these next few weeks, but I think that's the way to do it. I think you just have to have the right personnel out there to really strengthen those rebounding. And I think Bobby definitely tries, but sometimes he's culpable of either not grabbing the ball with two hands or trying to tip it either to himself or someone else. And that's not going to work.
It never goes to someone from the Bucks. Yeah.
Right. And it's like you can maybe get away with it when Brook Lopez was boxing out two dudes, but Miles Turner is not boxing out two dudes. So now that tipping around and not holding it with two hands really hurts you. And that was also something like Pat Connaughton would do well. It's like he would go, and Dante, they go up, get the ball, grab it with two hands, and strongly do it. Like Pat Connaughton and Dante were the two that come to mind in terms of guards. And that's not to say that's not happening, but I think it's just more that aspect. You need guys to just go up and grab it. And when Jericho Sims and Kevin Porter Jr. and I mean, even like Gary Harris, they will go up there and try to do it. So I think it's all personnel related.
Yeah. As far as the defensive rebounding, I think Van, I agree with the point about the drop. I mean, I think that like I should be consistent because I was praising the way Turner was kind of like running around and being more active on the pick and rolls in the opening week. But yeah, it seems like maybe that's not the best way to deploy him over recent weeks. I do think like I remember watching the Heat, the final Bud year when they played the Heat in the playoffs. And Brooks' drop was basically at the charge circle. So you could probably be a little bit more active than that. But yeah, as far as defensive rebounding, that could probably help. As far as offensive rebounding, I think it was you, Kyle, that made this point about it might have been you, one of you, can't remember. But I remember when in the Bud years, they used to, I'm pretty sure it was like Grayson Allen and PJ Tucker, and Bud would instruct them to like literally, I call it, I don't know what the name was, but I call it kamikaze crash from the corners. And literally just, I remember PJ Tucker did it a bunch when on the championship run, just beeline to the hoop. And if someone gets in your way, and if someone gets in your way, like PJ Tucker would just flop and he'd get the call every time. And then, but also Grayson Allen, I mean, that was one way they leveraged his athleticism, was just like sending him in there and it bounces off the front of the rim. And I remember in the final Bud year, he started getting a whole bunch of tap outs. He couldn't control the ball, but he would tap it out. So I think there's some low hanging fruit. Like they've got, like I have written here that I don't think it would be, don't send like AJ Green or like Gary Trent into those positions, but like Rollins and like Kuzma especially, I feel like could do that Grayson Allen role a little bit with those kamikaze crashes. And then also I've got here on mainly defensive rebounding, but also both sides. KP, like rebounding guards. I don't know what it is. Some guards just have the knack for it. Like you mentioned, Dante has always been a good rebounding guard for being, what is he, like 6'1"? Like he's pretty small.
Like a
6'2".
skinny,
No, he's like 6'4".
Yeah, like a slim
really?
6'4".
Yeah.
He's a little taller than me, I remember. He's listed at 6'4".
Okay.
203.
But he
Yeah.
definitely is like
Big.
slim and
Yeah.
like skinny / slim
He
enough.
plays
that he's
smaller than he's listed. Yeah, he definitely plays smaller.
I was checking KPJ's stats last. He's mainly like 3.8 to 5, maybe like 4.5 or something in that area. So I'm not sure if that's good, but he has a reputation as a good rebounder, I feel like. So yeah, I don't know. Just the rebounding stuff is just interests me. As far as also Turner, I was surprised he's only really a 6 to 7 per game for his career in terms of rebounds, which again with the Brook thing, like that's not necessarily indicative of your ability to box out and stuff. But I believe, I hate to do this, but this is one of the things that the Pacers fans apparently didn't love, is that he hasn't always been a great rebounder, I feel like. So I don't know. I'm not sure of that, but yeah.
No,
I don't know.
that
that
was
was
something people are complaining about.
Yeah,
that was something
And
like even when we would talk
the
to
NBA
Indy
Finals,
Cornrows,
Right,
like the
yeah,
last
yeah,
two playoff years, they would say like both these teams can't rebound, so one of them's gonna have to.
I think it was a situation with a lot of Pacers fans, just like it was with the Bucks and the Bucks fans and Brook Lopez, where a lot of them were just like, well, he doesn't get rebounds himself, so he's a bad rebounder.
Yeah.
Which just misses the point. And I remember looking this up as well before the season with Turner, just to see how team rebounding improved with him on the floor versus off, because that was something, if you looked at the on-off numbers for Brook Lopez, like always like high 90th percentile defensive rebounding percentage when he was on the floor versus off, like that on-off defense and or differential in defensive rebounding was one of the biggest in the league. And it wasn't always like that with Turner, but last year I remember they did rebound the ball a lot better when he was on the floor. So when I saw that, like I figured, okay, like if they could use him like Brook Lopez, and they'll be like still a solid rebounding team. Because last year, I mean, we saw a lot of times like there were issues with, not like this year, but there were issues on the offensive glass last year. But they still were a very good rebounding team. I think they finished in the top 10, probably maybe in the top 8. I'd have to go back and look, but they weren't a bad defensive rebounding team. And this year, they've just started to scratch mediocrity now, I'd say. And again, yeah, I think like there's a lot of things I think they could do to unlock Turner a bit more, including on offense. But I mean, defensively, like I think it would improve the rebounding considerably if they just like used him like they were using Brook Lopez.
That's fair. Yeah. End of the day, I feel like the Bucks are always going to have this issue, but at the same time, as long as it's not backbreaking offensive rebounds, like that's all I'm asking right now. I just don't need you don't get the offensive rebound, gets the other team gets it, and then they hit a 3. Or it's like a foul and 1, or even a foul that goes to the free throw. Like just not something that crushes all the work you put in a defensive possession. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is that too much?
No.
I feel like it wasn't so bad against the Nets. There were like a lot of there weren't too many offensive rebounds, but it was just like I remember thinking, okay, like against a better team, like they probably would have made them pay more for that.
Ironically, the Heat game was the one where I was like, somehow the Bucks like they would get the stop against the Heat, but then they couldn't score, and I was like,
they played well against the Heat, actually.
Yeah, it's like the one time you're rebounding well, it's like you just couldn't take advantage. But that kind of goes into my point, which is I feel like when the team is healthy, they can compete with any Eastern Conference team in the regular season. And I think we saw that. Like we saw it even without Giannis. Like they were able to compete with the Heat, who have played really well this season. With that, like with Giannis just coming back, they were right there with the Knicks and just couldn't go over the hump. They've beaten the Knicks with Giannis. They've been able to compete. It's just even the Sixers game. Like there's been games where they're in it, but the lack of having your best players really hurt them. But so now I'm like, okay, this week's going to be interesting because now you do have Kevin Porter Jr. back and you do have Giannis, and you didn't have them when you played the Pistons. And I think they can. I'm not saying they're going to win these games. I'm not saying they're like a top 4 team in the East, but I think with a healthy Buck squad, they can at the very like play in should be the bare minimum with this team. But I feel like there has to be changes with the rotation. I think we're starting to see that. We did not see Cole Anthony until garbage time. We've gotten more Jericho Sims in terms of just like the energy he brings to those bench units, and how they utilize him still could be probably tweaked, but we're seeing more of like what he can provide. We saw that little stint with Andre Jackson Jr. and we saw flashes. So I think there's stuff that they just have to fine tune on the rotation side. And I think it really can make a huge difference. You're not going to rely on Cole Anthony. You get limited Gary Harris minutes, which is fine. Cause like, I feel like the 9 to 10 minutes you get of Gary Harris have all been okay.
Yep.
You're moving Kyle Kuzma more. You're moving Kyle Kuzma more off the bench, which is where he was thriving at the beginning of the season. With the starting lineup now, you're only having one of AJ Green or Gary Trent Jr., which defensively helps them. So I think there is now like it's now about getting the rotations and just making sure you're not having those lapses where both Giannis and Miles Turner aren't on the court. They got away with it with Brooklyn because Brooklyn's terrible. But there's a stretch where I was like, oh, this is the lineup we're going out there with. And I think it was like Kevin Porter Jr. and like all the bench guys. And it did the job, but it was the Nets. So I can't really take much of it. I don't know. So I think that's where I'm at. And hey, it's nice that Giannis and Miles Turner didn't play the whole fourth quarter.
I don't know. I think like with the Nets, like without Kevin Porter Jr. or not Kevin Porter Jr., Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas, it's just like there's you try to find things to take away from the game. And like as far as like how it works with the rotation, because this is kind of the first time we've seen, I guess, like the top 8 or 9 players healthy since opening night. Depending on whether or not we want to consider Victorian Prince a part of that, who knows when or if he'll play again this season. Judging it based on like what the Nets did, I still saw issues in terms of rotations that were, I mean, like I was saying previously, like that better teams are going to exploit, right? And one of the, you mentioning Sims, in previous games this week, and maybe just in the last couple weeks, seeing him out there with Bobby Portis a lot in the second unit. I'm just trying to, at first I thought it was a good idea. Now I'm starting to kind of question that based on what I actually saw against the Knicks, right? One of the things I think that teams can do pretty well against the Bucks, this goes back to what I was saying about Miles Turner, is that because they're switching everything, teams are able to switch into, advantageous situations where it's a larger guy. We've seen it mostly, I feel like, a larger player on Gary Trent or AJ Green, but the maybe the more consequential thing there, and that means a lot for the rebounding, is that their big man is on the perimeter, because he's been switched on to like a ball handler or a guard or something, because that's just the system. So when you have Sims out there, he's ending up there quite a bit too. And Bobby Portis is the low man a lot. So that's causing issues with the rebounding. So I think it's like, not only you need to have Miles Turner be used in a specific way, you probably have to do that with Sims as well on defense. And when it comes to having him out there with another big, I think we haven't seen him play too much with Giannis really at any point, I think, during his tenure in Milwaukee, Sims, that is, just because, he's not a shooter, and the skill set, like, around the rim, it's like you want to have that spacing for Giannis to work. But I think he would be I kind of want to see it now, because I think Sims would be a better fit with Giannis, maybe certainly than Portis. They tried, was it last weekend? It was the Portland game that they started Jericho Sims, right? They just started him next to
and he was like minus 17 in 6 minutes,
and
like,
it's like they pulled the plug on that very quickly. But like I saw that and I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, Portland's a really good offensive rebounding team. They've got Donovan Clingan out there too, who gets a lot of them. But I think that works better still than having him out there with. I'm wondering if it works better than having him out there with Bobby Portis, just because. I mean, I think we were talking about this earlier too, like with some of the other Brew Herbers, like how do you use Jericho Sims, like not only to maximize his skill set but to help the team. And I don't know. I mean, I think you have to be pretty judicious in who you play him with, less about what situations he's in, because I think he's a guy who can work with a lot of in a lot of game situations. Like if you need rebounding and you need some defense, like some athleticism on defense, I like throwing Sims out there, but I don't like throwing him out there with, I don't know, really any of the Bucks other bigs. Like who does he make sense with most? I don't know.
Ironically, it might be Miles Turner.
Be Kuzma. I don't know. Yeah, might be Turner. Yeah.
I would think Turner, just because there's at least more spacing potential with Turner than with Kuzma. But I think that's the tough part, because it's like when you look at what they do with Sims, it's kind of like he sets the screen and then they get it to him like at the high post, and he's either kicking it out to someone in the corner, or it kind of feels like, oh shit, I don't know where I was supposed to go with this. Actually,
what do I do with the ball?
And like
the ball is in my hands. What do I do?
At the times they do give it to him down low, it's like, oh, there's 4 players. There's like 3 or 4 players around me. I'm not going to get a shot up. Like, I'm not Giannis. I can't just bully my way So I think there is that. I don't know what you do, just because it's clear what Jericho Sims brings for the Bucks in a positive way. It's like his athleticism, his motor, his ability to rebound is something that can help Milwaukee. But like you said, Van, it's like, who are you playing him with? Like I said, it probably would be Miles Turner. Like I would say Miles Turner first and maybe Kyle Kuzma or Giannis second. I think with Bobby, it's just like, it's more they're the bench guys, and it at least, I don't want to say, it limits Bobby's defensive liability. I would say that.
You'd think it would, but I feel like it doesn't.
It limits Bobby's in-arc liability. He still will. It's when he loses man on the 3-point line that's the issue. When Jericho Sims is out there.
Well, I was thinking it was more the opposite, because I'd rather have Bobby Portis out on the perimeter, and I feel like with Sims out there, he's getting taken into the paint like Danny Wolf last night. I mean, on the perimeter and inside. I didn't. I mean, that's a guy who played all of, I don't know, 20 minutes in the NBA prior to that game, and he looked like an all-star last night, and I thought that had a lot to do with what Bobby Portis wasn't doing. And I get maybe you don't respect someone like that, given the pedigree, but also like once he's doing it a few times, you don't have to let him keep doing it, and you can do something different stylistically. And I think, in the second unit, okay, put an actual body on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. To start the season, they were, I believe Eric Name put up a stat that they were playing like Miles Turner, like they were playing Miles Turner in like 82% of Giannis's minute. Like they were pairing those two. And then they went to staggering and having basically one of Turner and Giannis out there at all times. And I thought it looked good. Like people were really happy with it. And then they just like did it for a few games and haven't gone back to it. I'm not really sure what's going on there. And now what they're doing is they seem to have gone back to that a little bit, and they're pairing. They clearly don't want Portis playing the 5 ever on.
Smart.
So they're So they're pairing him with I agree, and they're pairing him with Sims now in those kind of, I want to say end of like start of second quarter, start of fourth quarter minutes, kind of that stretch. I mean, it's just like I'd love to know why they kind of went away from the staggering. I don't know if it's a minute. It might be a minutes thing because obviously Giannis isn't going to be playing like 40 minutes soon. But I also wanted to mention the theme we've seen is like, I remember in the Cavs game and also in the Knicks game, they start off like a house on fire with that kind of Rollins, like that starting lineup kind of thing, and then Cole Anthony would come in, and not to bag on Cole Anthony, I think we have done that a fair bit, but just like it just went to crap as soon as he went in, and like you have like an 11-point lead, and then like he would come in, and it's kind of that double whammy of it would be like Cole and Bobby, and suddenly they're not athletic and they're small everywhere, and the lead just evaporated every time. And with KPJ now back, there's going to be one of him or Rollins out there seemingly for the whole game. And I mean, granted, the caveat that it's against the Nets, but it just like looked so much better. I put in the group chat, like, why? I'm just thinking in my head, like, why is KPJ just look so much better and better again? Like, why is he so much more calming of a presence than Cole Anthony on the team? But I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
I think at the beginning of the season, like we saw in that first week, I guess a good version of Cole Anthony, as a bench point guard looked like, and we really haven't seen it since. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, he's a really steady and calm presence for that second unit. And yeah, he didn't play until garbage time last night. And I think now with KPJ healthy and with how Rollins has come along as a ball handler, as a point guard, they do have enough at that spot. Like they have between those two and Giannis, I think they have enough ball handling and initiation in the first or second unit, because they'll probably have to do a bit more staggering between Rollins and KPJ, right? I mean, especially once like Porter's off a minute restriction. Last night, I think he played maybe like 24 minutes or something like that. But it's with Anthony. I mean, Anthony was just playing so much because they didn't have Kevin Porter Jr. So you figure like, okay, he's going to take up all those minutes. I think Porter, there's like, I think I said recently that Porter's just a better version of Cole Anthony in that regard, like as a self creator. And I mean, you can see it as like he was doing it last night too. Like he gets downhill and he can make like kind of tough floaters, or like he can pull up at like, you know, like 8 feet and he'll drop one in. Whereas Cole kind of just like cuts across the lane and takes like an off balance shot that you're always, it feels like a gift from the heavens when it goes in, because it's just not the type of shot that you think.
Honestly, I have more faith in him doing that shot than him shooting a 3.
Well, yeah, it's that makes a lot of sense. But Porter's like the shots he creates for himself are just much better. But I like Cole Anthony as a ball handler, as kind of like the guy who does the real like kind of nuts and bolts point guard things. And we haven't really seen KPJ have to do that too much in Milwaukee, because he's been out there with like Giannis in the most successful moments he's had. So he hasn't had to assume like all of that role. And I don't know, maybe now if Giannis is on the bench while he's out there, I'm interested to see if he can like, I think what you say, Jack, about him having that calming presence is right, because it seems like the game is a little bit more under control with him out there than it has been with Cole Anthony. But at the same time, he's like, KPJ is not like he's kind of a wild man out there, right? Like so is that gonna keep up, and him being that calming presence, and B, like how is it gonna look like if he's not sort of counted on to be like a primary creator? Like if he's out there with, or not a primary creator, primary scorer, like if he's out there with Giannis, with Turner, with Rollins, maybe with Green, like where is he in that pecking order? Or with Bobby, for example. And if he is lower in that pecking order, and I don't necessarily think he should be, can he still be that guy? Like, can he still be the dude who's setting people up?
Yeah, it's interesting because like you're saying, like you wouldn't really conventionally describe him as like some calming, the KPJ as some calming presence. But I guess like where I'm coming from is like when I just like when you put him in a pick and roll and the bigs roll into the basket and someone has to tag the big, and if no one tags the big, he'll throw the lob like perfectly most times. And if someone does tag the big, he'll pass it to the person who tags the big. And he just, I don't know, I just like feel like when he's in those advantage situations, he tends to just hit the right person most of the time. And that was something that like with Cole, it felt like he might just like, I don't know, like pass it into a deflection, or like
he was doing that a lot.
Yeah, or Steve Nash dribble, and like before you know it, he's taken like 7 dribbles and there's 8 seconds on the shot clock, and like now it's just a step back 3. And so
not the right reads.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think KPJ's court vision from that standpoint just seems so much more superior. And I asked in our group chat if that just has to do with maybe it's to do with the fact that he's bigger than Cole. I don't know, but it's an interesting conversation, and we'll see what happens if Cole is really a part of things going forward. But it doesn't look like he's going to be, or at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think for me with Cole, I think it's more, and I said this in the kind of the group chat, I was like, I feel like KPJ is really good at creating shots for himself, while Cole Anthony can create more for his teammates. I think it's just more like he has more of a natural passing instinct than KPJ, and that's not to say KPJ doesn't have it, and it's not like a wide margin. I just feel like when Cole Anthony's out there, he's primarily there to get others set up. Like when he's dribbling for 7 seconds, it's almost like he's waiting for someone to like do an off-ball movement so he can get the pass to them. And then it's like, oh, there's 10 seconds left in the shot clock, and now I gotta like drive and create something out of nothing.
Gotta do something.
But I think the nice part with KPJ, and I think a lot of it was seen, is his ability to self-create was huge for the Bucks. It's like now there's a whole nother player that teams had to focus on. And then that allows an AJ Green, it allows I'm trying to think of like Gary Trent Jr. or even Miles Turner, like it allows them to kind of get into the place that they need to, because their defender might not necessarily overhelp, but they're jumping in to try and slow whatever momentum with KPJ, and he's able to make that, like KPJ's able to make that pass, or even better, he's big enough that he can just bully his way to get the shot that he needs. So I think that's maybe why there's that comfort, is knowing like his ability and his size to get himself in the positions that can really make it threatening for his teammates to really take advantage of.
I think
I really
Cole
like.
Anthony,
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think Cole Anthony, like his purpose in signing him was to be. I mean, I don't even know if he's necessarily the backup point guard, like, but now he's like, I think his best role in the team would be like the third point guard, and that's what I think he's going to be now. And that's fine. I think he's fine as the third point guard. They don't need to go out and get another point guard.
I was just going to say his another thing that I've noticed is like one reason I like the Rollins, or at least at this stage I like it. We'll see how it kind of progresses, but the Rollins KPJ starting together is the fact that like they can both kind of quote unquote make the next play, whereas like let's say you catch it and there's half an advantage, you don't have the shot, but you can drive, you have a small window to drive, draw 1.5 plays and make the next pass. That's like something that both of those players can do. Whereas if you replace one of those players with like, I think AJ Green has actually progressed in that area of like being able to like play as a passer and just kind of make the next play this season. But if you replace him with like, a Gary Harris or like a Gary Trent necessarily, for example, those guys kind of have to shoot it on that shot. And then if they don't, the advantage kind of goes away because they're kind of, I don't know, the reaction isn't quite as fast. So to your point about the rotation and stuff, starting together, it's an interesting look, but I'm also interested to see how it looks and if teams kind of help off KPJ and make him shoot a whole bunch of spot up threes as well.
Yeah, but I was going to say, we talked about KPJ and we're talking about Cole Anthony, but Van, I know you wanted to, like, in your thing that you learned, you wanted to talk about Ryan Rollins. I feel like this week was kind of like a good week to really show like what he can do when it's all on him, but also the struggles of that. In like the Miami game was like a good example of like when it has to fall completely on him and he's not going. But I'll let you talk about your point.
Right. What I was thinking, what you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. It was like, you see what he could do this year, what he can do. But it's less about, I think, what he can do as, the guy, the role we've seen him in the last couple of weeks with Giannis out, where he's top of the scouting report, right? Like in those games, like those first 2 games without Giannis, the Philadelphia and the Pistons game, he took 26 and 21 shots. He had 32 and 24 points, 14 shots against Portland. That was a little bit of a down night for him. 24 against the Heat, and he started off so cold in that game, but he ends up with 26 points, and he hit some pretty big shots late. But actually, I think I'm more interested in talking about the last 2 games, particularly the Brooklyn game, because while I know it's the Nets, I think it just shows how he can play with KPJ, which is the most interesting, I think, to me, because excuse me, the way I look at Ryan Rollins this year, the way I looked at him coming into this year was I would say a point of attack defender off the bench. Like I was thinking he could be in kind of a Javon Carter role, because he is the Bucks' best point of attack defender, and I think he's pretty good in that regard. He's just not someone that he's just not Drew Holiday. Like he isn't going to guard up so much, but when it comes to like, I thought he did. I mean, with Jalen Brunson, like who always cooks the Bucks, like he did about as good a job as I guess anyone has done in recent years with him as a Buck point guard. So like it'd be 37 points on 12 of 21 shooting. That's what he does against the Bucks. Brunson, but he's done well against other point guards too, like big scoring point guards this year, especially Steph Curry. I think was the main one that you would associate with like a good backcourt defensive performance by him. Maybe to like a lesser extent, like I think it was in the first game that Donovan Mitchell just against the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell didn't really have like his. I mean, he was 9 of 20 in that game. It was not really like a typical Donovan Mitchell game, but that's the role he's going to have to play now, like that point of attack guy, like someone who is on the scoring guards, but in the starting lineup, and he's not doing that as being the primary like ball handler and scorer like he has been the last couple of weeks. But also now that Giannis is back, like, okay, yeah, primary scoring role goes to him. Primary ball handling role, like you think it's going to be split between KPJ and Giannis. That's sort of what we expected coming into the year. So like his usage is going down, right? His just his time with the ball and his hands is going down, and he's going to have to make more of, like you guys were saying, like the next play. Like he's having to, make the hockey assists. He's not racking up the numbers himself, although he did average this week, I guess 5.5 assists. I mean, that Philly game the other week, 14 assists in overtime, of course, but he was filling up the stat sheet in non-scoring ways this week, which I think was really important to see. Like he had 4 steals last night. With 4 assists, he had 5, 7, and 5 rebounds this week. Same with assists. He shot the ball. He didn't shoot the ball that well. He was just under 40% from the floor and 28% from 3. But he got to the line a fair bit. Well, I shouldn't say that was last week. I guess the last time you potted was after the Detroit game, right? So
yeah,
I all right. So that wasn't technically this week that he was getting to the line more, but I mean the way he can get downhill, especially the way we see him finish with his left, not that he can't do it with his right too. Like he's fearless at the rim. And I think that's important. That's going to be an important wrinkle in the offense right now, because he has proven this year he's much more of a creator than I thought he was. And he's become, like, I would say, a legit point guard. And that's not something I really associated with him entering the year. Was like he's like, I thought of him as a combo guard. Like, yeah, he can play the one, he can guard other ones, but is he going to be running the offense that much? Probably not. I don't know if he's ready to do that. He's ready to do that. I think he's run the offense pretty well. As long as this entire season has gone on, ever since Kevin Porter Jr. went out in game 1. So he's going to have to do that more, but it's coming in I guess I should say he's going to have to do that more in a secondary role. And with the second unit, especially, like we're thinking if they're going to stagger KPJ and Rollins, like he's going to have to run some of those second unit lineups, I think, because he's going to come out when Porter goes in or whatever, and vice versa. So I think this week showed, and last night, especially with Kevin Porter in, it's like he can still succeed in a different role, something that's, I don't even want to say like a better suited role for him, because I don't think it's a matter of his fit. It's just how he can play off of KPJ and Giannis and a lineup with both of them in there. Very small sample, but just, I think it was Doc who said last night he just thought Rollins played a lot more freely. And whether that means he has less of a regimented role in the offense where like he's having to set things up and set other guys up, I don't know. But like I said in this banner we have up there, I think he's going to be a contributing, like a really high pro level contributor to a lot of teams throughout his career. Hopefully a lot of those are in Milwaukee, but just like I'm seeing him develop this year into just like a very quality NBA, not just a role player, but I think someone who probably can be a starting point guard for a while in this league, just based on what he can do on both sides of the ball, with the ball in his hands, shooting the ball from anywhere, because he's a 3-level scorer. I would say he can create. He's an efficient guy, and he can create for others now too. So, yeah, it's just sensational that he's under a contract for. I guess it's really only another year because he's got a player option in year 3, but $4 million a year, like, what an absolute steal.
Can't be mad about that. And I do think there is the aspect of he's not having all that responsibility. And I know, Jack, you and Jackson mentioned that last week. It was like the Pistons were like, okay, Asar Thompson, you're going to, or Amen Thompson, one of the Thompsons, you're going to go guard Ryan Rollins because he is their biggest threat. So you are going to do that.
Yeah.
And that is,
and Kamara,
I feel like that's
on Monday.
like a huge, Kamara. It's like, all right, that's the guy you got to guard. And I think that's a testament to Ryan Rollins that he has been very good this season, to the fact that teams are not putting their best defender. But I think also with having Giannis and Kevin Porter Jr. back, he doesn't have to take the burden as well of the offense. And I feel like with Miami, it was like he was really struggling in that first half, and it was kind of like, this just isn't his night. But at the same time, he has to keep shooting because who else is going to do it? Like Miles Turner, thankfully, was able to contribute, but it was kind of Bobby's not hitting his shots. Like AJ Green wasn't really getting there. Gary Trent Jr. took until the second half for him to really get going. And it was just, you had that feeling of he has to take on that burden. I think now with having Giannis and KPJ back, it's going to ease that. And I think that's huge for him because then he can allow him to focus more on that point of attack defense. And he's still going to get his shots. He's still going to get his moments because you can't, like, he's someone that you can rely on now. Like, you can't not have him take the shots when you need to, especially in the clutch. I feel like him and Kevin Porter Jr. might be the two that if Giannis isn't going to take the shot, it's going to go to those two because they're the ones that can get create their own shots. And with Ryan Rollins, like, he had a good amount of shots in the clutch that would help Milwaukee. Sometimes it didn't end in wins, but you felt more confident with him taking those shots as opposed to even Giannis to an extent.
Yeah, the beauty of Ryan Rollins' game and why I love him so much is that he can, and I don't think, like we've discussed, like having him be your first option without a true like all-star or like kind of like superstar around him is not necessarily a winning recipe. But to an extent, his game scales up and it scales down. Like he can man second unit and kind of lead second unit team bench groups against other kind of mixed groups, while also being a really helpful support player in the main group. And it's also on defense as well. Like he fits so well into any team's like top 7 because he can survive on both ends, even if that's just a spot up role on offense, and then he's taking one of the best guards on defense and stuff like that. So, I always think about like they've really just unearthed a gem here, because really the NBA is filled with a lot of kind of specialist roles. Like you've got shooters and you've got defenders, and you've got the Duncan Robinson types who are kind of just 3-point shooters, but they can't defend. And you're kind of like plugging one hole while one hole opens up. But with Rollins, you can kind of plug a whole bunch of different holes, and he kind of just fits in so many different areas. And I mean, to your point, Van,
he's an all-around player.
Yeah, he fits into any team, and that's why he's going to have a great career.
Great.
Cool.
I feel like, is there anything else from these games that we want to touch on or anything? Is there anything else we want to maybe go over? I feel like this week it's so tough to judge this week because on the one hand, we saw the Bucks compete. We also see them fall very short, but then we see them get healthy and get a win. Like they snap the losing streak, but then it's against the Nets. So it's kind of like, I don't even know what more can be taken away from this week, but it is interesting. It was an interesting week to say the least.
Yeah, I think it was a mixed bag, just because I thought they played really well against Miami, despite coming up short. But I thought they really played terribly against Portland. And like that was a banged up team as well. So like I can't really, it's hard for me to say like they had a week where they showed a lot of heart and hustle, like just based on how things went against Portland, and also a little bit that Pistons game. I know the Pistons are very good, but that sort of those two games left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth that I'm still kind of working off. But at the same time, I think you have to just view everything through the lens that like Giannis wasn't playing. Like I've been saying that for years. Like people will get we'll make, I think, a lot of judgments about the Bucks, how they play when Giannis isn't playing, which like especially in the postseason, in the last couple of years, not the last couple of years, 2024 and 2023. It's been said a number of ways, but this is just a team that doesn't work without Giannis. It's built around Giannis. It's built to use Giannis. So, like I think it's people use, like they say, well, if Giannis isn't on this team, it's a lottery team. It's like, yeah, duh. And if you take, I mean, like the Celtics might be a lottery team without Jason Tatum. I think that people think that the Bucks would be a very high lottery team without Giannis, and I would agree. But this is, I don't know, is that some like it feels like people just are so quick to denigrate the Bucks, how they play when they don't have Giannis, which is just not a representation of a basketball team. Like if Giannis wasn't on this roster, this is not how they play. This is not how the team would be built.
Yeah, I co-sign everything that you just said, Van. Like we had the stretch, wave and stretch of Dame, and like the kind of cap implications of that is just like there isn't a. I mean, there isn't a second, even anyone really close to like a second banana or a second all-star. Maybe like Rollins is kind of turning into that second player for the team, but. Yeah, that play just doesn't really exist on that team. And if Giannis isn't playing, like you're probably going to lose to most teams the way this team is set up. And it was interesting. I was watching the games like when Giannis wasn't playing, and generally I'm a bit antsy because I just want the team to win. But I was quite relaxed because I had no expectation they were going to do anything.
I feel the same way.
And it was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of chill, and just I was like, if they win, great, but I don't think they're going to. And
if they lose, it's like this is not.
Yeah, and then when he plays, I'm back to like, all right, like this is when they should be winning, and yeah, so the Giannis truly is the team was constructed literally like if he's not on the team, they're not a very good team. So let's just hope he stays healthy and they can. I believe they have a pretty favorable schedule, at least this month. So let's hope they can stack up some wins here.
I think they can. I think, as we've seen, it's gotten, even without Giannis, they're competitive. So I think it'll get better, and hopefully with an easier schedule, it can. But I feel like that's everything for the game. So let's do the fun stuff. Jack, I'm going to let you start with what the Aussie slang is. I'm going to let you try and stump us, I guess, or teach us. I don't know which one we're going to go with.
I'm looking forward to this.
Now, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, you've spent a fair bit of time in Australia, so you might need to just give it a few seconds and maybe let
Grant. Yeah, I was going to say I did spend a whole.
Let me answer first,
but that was 13 years ago, so it's been a while.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, I've got two. I try and bring two words each time I'm on. So the first word is esky.
Esky.
What does esky mean? ESKY.
I mean, ESKY.
It's something that you put objects. You put objects into. You put objects into an esky.
Is it a cooler?
That's a good guess. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was thinking like
cooler. Yeah.
Your
Like,
hint,
well,
your
you-
hint
you-
helped me because I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's something you put things in.
you're not in the Arctic Circle, you and it's Inuit is what the people up there are known as.
Oh yeah, I
Not
guess that
Eskimo.
also-
I guess was like a
Right,
term
yeah,
that was just invented by, I guess, like the colonists or something like that. So I mean, well, it can't be of anything to do with like with natives of the Arctic Circle down there. But was there a brand of coolers that had that nickname or something like that down there?
It's a
Kinda like we
great
have
question. It's a great question. I don't know the answer, but yeah, I have to investigate what the origins of why it's called Esky, but we call it
It
a
reminds
cooler.
me-
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me. I mean, there is a brand up here, Igloo, that makes coolers. I have an
Yeah.
Igloo cooler, but it reminds me a little bit. I don't know if you know this, Kyle, because you grew up in Waukesha, right?
Yeah.
So in Madison, there for a long time, all of the ATMs, like that you would just like the drive up ATMs at banks or by the grocery store or wherever, they were branded as like with the word time on them, but it was spelled TYME. It was like this big white and red thing. You've seen this, yeah. So
Yes, I
it
do
stood for take your
remember.
money everywhere. Yeah. And we always called them, I think this is a local thing. Maybe you did too, Kyle. Time machines, where like that was the ATM. I didn't know what an ATM was. It was just a time machine. And I remember going like when I was with some friends,
so.
like my first year of college, who were from out east, and I was just saying like, "Oh, I need to go to the ATM," and I said, "I need to go to the time machine." And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
No,
I'm
I
like,
don't think.
I need to get more cash. I need to use my debit card to withdraw cash. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're gonna go back in time to get money or something?
I remember the logo, but I don't remember calling it that. But I was also young.
Maybe that was a
Like,
Madison thing. Yeah.
And maybe it was. I was just too young because I do remember seeing it at like the Waukesha State banks, especially the ones in the grocery stores. So I recognize it, but I don't think maybe because I just didn't have money that I needed.
Maybe
to go
we just
get.
called it time machines. Maybe it was just my family. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't know if that's a Madison one or if that was a.
Yeah.
I was just too young and I didn't have to bother.
But this is we're supposed to be talking about Aussie stuff, so go on.
Right, word number 2, Dunny.
Can you spell it? You
know what this
Dunny.
Is it a fight? Is it a fight like a Donnybrook?
No.
Okay, give me a hint then.
You go to the Dunny a few times a day, or maybe just one.
So it's the Dunny. Oh, you only go there once?
No, actually, no. Sorry, you would go there a few times.
I was going to say once would be concerned for your body.
I was like I know what we're talking about, and if it's just once, when you said it was just once, it was like, okay, so is that when you go to the toilet for a specific purpose? Maybe that you only do once a day, but you're just talking about
exactly what I was referring to. That's exactly what I was referring to.
Really?
But then I realized that actually, no, you would go multiple times per day.
Okay. So it's just a generic toilet then. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like this is the toilet I use for a specific act.
Movement.
Honestly though, like
I mean
I chuckled because there's a whole episode on Bluey about this, and like the kids keep saying Dunny, and the mom's like, "Stop saying that."
Children's show.
Yeah,
children's show.
Because they're based in Australia, so it was like
I know.
saying it. I was just like, so Desmond loves Bluey, so I do remember it mainly from that episode of Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey is a massively popular show. Yeah, like people love it, and I remember there's this hugely popular comedy podcast duo. They're not a pod. They're kind of just comedy in general, but they're called Hamish and Andy. And they have people with they have a segment on their podcast called Special Skill. And it's basically the Olympics for people with random skills, like just whatever it is. And they'll call in and say, hey, I can balance 3 cups on my head for 20 seconds or whatever the hell it is. And It's a hilarious segment. They've been doing it for years. And there's one guy, he's like, I shit you not, like 25 years old. And he knows every episode of Bluey that's ever been made or whatever. And he can be like episode 24, this is when XYZ happens.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't do that.
I'm just like, he just had an infatuation with Bluey. And I'm just like, this is a show for like children. Like, what? Anyway.
Yeah.
The thing with Bluey is...
So it is popular in Australia.
Massive. Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
I think what makes Bluey work is it's a show for kids, but it's a show that like adults can also watch and not feel like, oh my God, I'm losing brain cells. I think that's like one of the big appeals is like, it's a kid's show, but you're not sitting here thinking, am I really putting my child, is my child just losing brain cells and just rotting?
Not brain rot.
Yeah.
You're saying
it's not like Coco Melon.
Yeah, you're saying that you could sit down and watch an episode of Bluey and be like semi-entertained.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Really? Okay, because I've never even... I don't know anything about Bluey, but yeah, that's really interesting.
I've never seen it, but you're not the first person I've heard that about. Like Frank Madden, our founder, he watches it a lot with his daughter too, and he's extolled its virtues a number of times.
Also helps that the episodes are like 7. It's not long. Like the episodes are not long, which is huge because it's like, okay, I don't have to like fully sit. Like you can easily figure out what's going on plot wise. So
I would hope you can, Kyle. You're an adult.
I would not say I can name episode whatever and know exactly what's going on. Like if I see it on TV, I'd be like, oh, I know it's happening, but I could not just name it not off the dome.
I think there's any show you can do that with. Like, you need to get a hobby.
Yeah, no.
Even if it's like a good show.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you didn't tell me the episode name, I can tell you what's like. If you show me like the beginning, like the first minute of Bluey, I can tell you what the plot is. But I could not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do that with Scrubs or like The Good Place, and I would say I've watched those shows way too many times to count.
Yeah.
But we're gonna transition to my film review because I said the last time I was on, I was gonna talk about this season's Great British Baking Show and how it was just dominance from start to finish. And it truly was. Like the woman Jasmine, she won the whole thing. She was Star Baker, I think 5 times, which is more than
it tied a record
ever gotten.
I think.
Yeah, I think it's either tied or it was the record for most Star Bakers in a season, which is absurd. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she was just like solid. Like she had the foundation. And I think her being able to just build off her foundation is really what made her so good. Is like she was always consistent. Like she never had like a disaster. Every time she put something out,
didn't
it was at
Paul
least a
say
6
he
out
was
of 10.
I think Paul said she was never at the bottom, like in any week. Like we never even mentioned her like as being in trouble.
No, like everything she put out was at least a 6 out of 10 and probably was higher. She was just that good. And I felt bad because I feel like in the finale, it was one of those where she probably would have lost if Tom didn't butcher the first, like the signature. If Tom doesn't butcher the signature, I think he wins because his showstopper was better than Jasmine's.
Yeah. What was the signature again? What did they make?
I don't remember anymore.
Why we have computers.
It was, but I remember because it was like Aaron had the flavor. Whatever Tom tried doing, he just didn't execute it well. And Jasmine did like great. Like that was like where Jasmine was like shiny. But I feel like Tom was like the showstopper was like what Tom pulled off was like, oh, he would have won if it wasn't for the signature. But yeah, Jasmine was just so good. And like the closest I could think of was Steph a couple of years ago. Like Steph was
basketball. I thought you were making a basketball comparison. Like
no. There was a woman named Steph.
I remember her. Mm-hmm.
She was steamrolling, but then she fell apart in the finale, and it was like, oh my god, like. But that's where I felt like that's the level Jasmine was on. I felt like she was just like it was clear she was just consistent, and it was always like good consistency. And we just don't see that, especially lately. I feel like there's always like one where it's like, I don't know who's going to win the finale. But it was like, we got to the finale. It was like, Yeah, no, Jasmine's, unless an absolute disaster happens, Jasmine's going to win.
It was very clear from like the third episode, I think,
Yeah.
or something like that. It's like, oh, she's gonna win this.
Right.
Ice
It was
finger buns is what they did for the signature, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really remember what those are. Most of the stuff that's on the Great British Bake Off, I'm like, what exactly is that? Like, they had that one cake early in the season that was like, it was like a school cake or something. Like,
yeah, or like they'll say they're doing a cheesecake, and then I'm hearing them do the flavors like, this is not a cheesecake. What are you doing?
There were weird types of cheesecakes they talked about on this show. It was the summer fet school display, but then there was some sort of, do you remember that weird like pie or pasty thing they did, which was just basically like a whole bunch of ground meat? Like,
yeah,
it was something that I think British soldiers were eating in like World War I or something like that.
That I slightly understand because like
this.
I grew up on like, they called it a pate, and it was like the same thing. It's almost like an empanada or pate. So I was like, okay, that's more in line. But they had like,
it was
a cake
much
where they had
bigger
like a
and
huge
nastier
jelly.
Than an empanada, though.
Like they had a huge gelatin on top. And I was like, what is like it was,
and no one got it. No one got that right.
Yeah.
They all screwed that up.
But yeah, no, this season was just dominance. Just well done, Jasmine.
You had said when we were talking, I remember about this a few weeks ago, you're like, oh, I think that had Tom, you said like had Tom nailed the signature, like, or something, he would have beaten Jasmine. I don't know. Like, we were watching her thinking like, whoa, is Jasmine about to choke this all away? Like, she's been like up big on the field for like the entire season. Is she going to lose it in the final lap? But
I don't think it would have been.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't think if Tom had won, it was because Jasmine choked. I just thought Tom's showstopper was so.
It was
good.
really good. That
might
they
be
really
the
loved
best
that cake. But the problem was he just like he had such a bad few weeks prior to the finale. Like he was like, remember that beehive thing he made?
He was doing too much.
They hated.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I thought he was going home.
Yeah. Well, he thought he was too. I didn't think he was going home, but it was just like
I thought he was. With how harsh
if he just been a little more if he had just been a little more consistent, I think in the weeks leading into that, they would have been like, you know what, he did better than Jasmine this week. We're gonna give it to him. But I just think it was too little, too late.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like, like you said, it was clear who the best one was, and it was just a matter of. And I don't know. I feel like we won't see a dominance like that for a while.
I couldn't believe Aaron stuck around as long as he did. Like I thought that dude was gonna be gone after like week 2 or 3. Like he had a rough start to the whole thing, and then he just
started rough.
He just got better and better.
I think what helps is his flavors were always like. The actual bake might not have worked, but the flavors were all there. So it was kind of like, okay. He took a risk and his flavors always worked, paid off. It was just like, it just wasn't structurally as good baking.
Who was your favorite person on the show this season? Because I'm curious. I have an answer, but who's your just the one you like the most?
It's a bummer because she went out early, but Poimon.
Oh yeah, she was cool.
She was hilarious.
Ian. I thought Ian was the funniest dude. This was maybe Jack, you'll understand this, but he would talk about his fiance, and he said, "Yeah, we met at the wee pub during freshers at uni." This is a guy from Ireland. I forget if it was from Northern Ireland or just Ireland, but
it sounds very Irish.
He was this kind of smaller dude with a mullet. And he had some earrings and he had a mustache, and his fiance was this very tall, dark-haired Irish woman, and her name was Dervla, and he just talked about them a lot. They got engaged, and I think after the show, but they would ask how she met. It's like, at the wee bar, freshers at uni. That was when he said that right there. I'm like, all right, this guy's. I can't wait to see what this guy says every time he talks about him.
No, I love Poimon. I always loved the ones that just make jokes, but she just didn't last long enough, which was a bummer.
Yeah, she was cool. I liked her too. There were The dude, the old guy in the first or second episode, I think his name was Leighton or something. He was so bad.
Yeah.
You knew he was bad.
There's always, I
But
feel like
it was
every
a fun
season there's
season.
always the old guy who's just not good. But there's
Out
one
of his
guy.
depth.
Yeah, there's one guy, I'm trying to remember his name, but he was like, he'd always wait until the last minute to do something. I was like, oh my God, this man is stressing me out.
Yeah. Or like this year, the guy who stressed me out the most was Toby. He would always forget stuff.
Yeah.
Like he just wouldn't do stuff based on the recipe. And then of course he had his disaster with the whatever that French cake thing.
The
was.
macaron, I think it was.
No, it wasn't the macaron. It was that cake. It was the cake that was supposed to have the like sugar dome over it.
Yeah.
Remember, it just like completely fell, like it didn't just fall apart, it like liquefied.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That did happen.
Anyway, have you ever seen Bake Off, Jack? Is it popular down there?
No, I mean, I personally have never been into sort of. Actually, I used to watch MasterChef way back.
I'm not into this. It's just fun. It's like it's not something I watch regularly, but it is just
I
fun.
do.
Like, I don't actually know anything about baking. I don't know anything about baking, but I'll watch this.
No, yeah. I mean, I would be the same. I definitely wouldn't bother, but still, I've never really gotten into the cooking kind of shows. I like I said, I used to watch MasterChef a lot back when I was in like high school. I was like a MasterChef. I watched it 4 nights a week, or however many times it was on. I loved it, but yeah, I don't know. I just haven't watched that stuff since. Yeah,
I love it because I just need like a call.
British.
Yeah,
it is a good. But it's a British thing for me. Like if it was American people, no.
Although it's hilarious because my fiance is like, I can't believe all they get for winning is just like this cake stand
just
that's engraved.
Yeah.
She's like, why are you crying over this? No. They get a cake stand.
Some of them open up their own bakeries and stuff afterwards.
Yeah, like they definitely use the fame
careers.
To like, yeah, they use the fame to either like open up a shop or do cookbooks or like become influencers. But she's always like, literally just go on Etsy
just a little cake stand. It's like a pretty like crappy looking one too.
So she's always just like, nah, see, I need to be more cutthroat. I need more harshness.
Needs to be more American. They're too nice to each other.
Exactly what she has said.
Yeah, but yeah,
that was the season. All right, man. I will let you get on your Warped Tour. What's on the route this week?
We're sticking with the UK theme. I know it's a surprise that we're not doing a German theme, but Riley's not on this podcast right now, so I'm not picking something from Central Europe. But British Isles, there was a band in the early 80s called, I think I'm not sure when they broke up, and I guess they got back together, but they were most active in the early 80s called the Stranglers, and they were kind of
what the hell?
They were. Have you not heard of the Stranglers?
No.
They were. That's okay. They were just sort of an early punk band, but they weren't like kind of in that Sex Pistols vein or like that's who you associate with British punk, right? They were a little bit more of like the new wave, but also not. They were somewhere kind of in between like the Sex Pistols and like Devo, maybe. But they had a song that came out in '82 called "Golden Brown." I believe it was in what's that show? Umbrella Academy. It was one episode. They had it in there as part of the soundtrack. But interesting song that changes time signatures a bit. The main thing you'll hear, the main melody instrument is a harpsichord, and it's an interesting tuned harpsichord. It's sort of like not. It's right in between, like, you know, the A is not 440. It's like probably like 425 or something like that. It's just it's like a detuned harpsichord, not purposefully, but just relative to modern instruments, it would sound flat. But golden brown refers to heroin, naturally. So cool song. I heard this song, but the version I want to talk about specifically is by also a Brit, a saxophone player named from the UK named Lawrence Mason, who did a cover of it about 5 years ago. in the style of Dave Brubeck. That's a name, Kyle, I'm sure you know. Dave Brubeck, Take Five.
Yeah, it's like ringing a bell. I couldn't name a song off of them, but I feel like the name is like big enough.
Yeah, Take Five is their big one. You've heard that, I'm sure, both of you before. But it was kind of so Dave Brubeck is an American pianist, but he was one of the big names and the big pioneers of like West Coast jazz, cool jazz, in the mid, like in the 50s, 60s. And yeah, Take Five is his most famous tune. That was in a 5/4 time signature. Not a whole lot of songs in jazz prior to the 50s. They were all in, they weren't in 5/4. So, but if you hear this version of, well, if you hear Golden Brown, you can pick up on, it's not in 5/4. It goes between 7/8 and 3/4 a little bit, and then it sticks in 3/4. But it works. Like you hear Take Five in it. So he did a version of Golden Brown. Lawrence Mason did, as like in the style of Dave Brubeck, like kind of. So it sounds a bit like Take Five, which again, like there are probably a lot of listeners who know that song. So yeah, Lawrence Mason's version of Golden Brown by the Stranglers is my pick for the Warped Tour this week. It is a really nice listen. I would recommend listening to the original at some point. And there's also a great version of the original by a mariachi band, like that was done with the lead singer of that band from the Stranglers. He did a cover of it with a mariachi band. You can find that on YouTube. It's just a song that, listening to it, it's kind of like, who are we talking about? It's kind of like a Ryan Rollins type song where it just works in a number of settings. It's like, it's a winning song. It's a winning formula. It's just it's enjoyed a nice, I would say, like kind of like its career, like it's evolved. It has a nice legacy to this song, even if it's not like a huge hit. It just, it endears, and it's going to have a nice, long, storied career.
All right. That works for me. I'll make sure to put I'm going to put the Spotify link in the show notes so people can listen to it as well. And yeah, I'll have to check it out because I've never heard of the Stranglers. So, of course, the song was about heroin in the 70s or 80s.
Yes. Yeah. It was 1982. Yeah. It's Golden Brown. Like it's never a frown with Golden Brown is one of the refrains. So, yeah.
All right.
Talking about her like it's a woman, talking lady heroine or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. So, all right, we're going to end the show with our predictions. So, Monday or today, depending on when you're hearing this, they will go to Washington to take on the Wizards. Then they host the Detroit Pistons on Wednesday, host the 76ers on Friday, and then another back-to-back. So then Saturday, they go to Detroit and take on the Pistons. So, Jack, what do you think is going to be the prediction for this week?
I think they'll get 2 wins. I think they'll get Wizards and Sixers. I'm deciding whether they get one of the Pistons games. You know what? I'm feeling confident. Let's go 3-1. Say they get the Pistons game. Say they win 3 straight and lose on Saturday.
Okay. All right.
I'm waffling a bit because looking at the schedules. All right. So first of all, like they'll get the Wizards game. I'm confident in them to do that. But they have Detroit on Wednesday and then the back-to-back Philly and Detroit. Joel Embiid played tonight for the first time since I think the 8th of November or something like that. But that game for them is the second night of a back-to-back. They have the Warriors at home the night before. So I don't think Embiid's going to play. And I'm gonna. And I was not impressed. I was not too impressed by the Sixers, how they needed overtime to beat the Bucks without Giannis.
And a career night from Tyrese Maxey.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not too impressed. So, but I also feel like I think they're gonna get one of the games versus the Pistons. I just don't think it's gonna be the one on the second night of a back-to-back in Detroit. So, I mean, I'm just gonna go 2-2 and say they drop both Detroit games, but I am prepared to eat crow if they beat Detroit, because I think on Wednesday night would be the night they could do it. It'll be at home. I mean, their last matchup with Detroit was at home too, but didn't have Giannis. And actually, I thought in that game, like they played a lot better in the second half of that game, as I recall. Like they outscored the Pistons, in the second half, only by a few points, but like maybe with Giannis it happens. So I'm just gonna hedge my bets and go 2-2 with wins over the Sixers and Wizards.
Yeah, I was gonna say if the Detroit game was at home on the Saturday, I would have maybe leaned 3-1, but I'm gonna say 2-2. It's only because I think it'll be close against the Pistons on Wednesday. I'm just not sure about, like I said, I just don't feel confident enough to say they'll be able to travel and play the next day in Detroit and win that game. So that's like my only. So I'm saying 2-2, but it's not as though I think they'll be competitive in that Wednesday game against Detroit. I just don't know if they'll have quite enough. But they should.
Are the Bucks ever going to win a back-to-back again?
Also that, like
the other thing
there's also that
is they are trying to, like, I've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about how they're trying to reintegrate like Jaden Ivey, and they're not necessarily playing they're in a bit of a transitional period where they're not necessarily playing the guys that have proven to help them as much as they're trying to get new guys in the fold. And I think there's a chance the Bucks could take advantage of that. But like you said, if they're going to win against the Pistons, it was probably going to be on that Wednesday game. So,
yeah, they lost the Pistons to the Magic, who didn't have Banchero, because Desmond Bane is starting to come around a little bit. But
the Magic seem to play better without.
Oh, the Magic are. Yeah, they have been. They have been the last year and this year too. It's weird.
Do you know? I did not realize it, but Detroit also plays on a back-to-back, so they play Friday as well, but they're at home.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, all teams are. It's a second night of a back-to-back for them, and I was checking out some of the schedules. Like the Sixers also play the Wizards this week. It's like there's a lot of similarities in the schedules between these three teams this week.
Got to reduce those logistics. You got to try and bring down the travel costs.
No more back-to-backs. No more back-to-backs. Ban back-to-backs.
Sadly, that's never going to happen as long as the league is going to start the season when they do. So that is going to be it.
Make it earlier.
Yeah, they're not going to try and do
more basketball. Fuck the NFL.
I don't disagree, but we know in some areas, especially Wisconsin. Yeah. But that will be it for tonight's episode. Make sure to check us out at brewhoop.com. We're going to have, obviously, game previews and reviews, the player grades. We're going to start. We got our, Brewhoop parent conference. I don't know what to call it yet, but we're going to have that based off of the grades from the first quarter.
Yeah. The progress reports are coming out.
So make sure to check that out on brewhoop.com. Make sure to like and subscribe on whatever podcast app you're listening to, and to like and share and subscribe on YouTube as well. We appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you next week.